This is the unbelievable story of how one of the world's most powerful drug lords broke out of the most impregnable prisons in the world. In the annals of prison escapes, few tales capture the imagination quite like the audacious and meticulously planned breakout of Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, the notorious Mexican drug lord. El Chapo's 2015 escape from the maximum security Altiplano prison was a feat that seemed straight out of a Hollywood script, including an elaborate tunnel system that stretched for over a mile, complete with lighting, ventilation, and even a customized motorcycle track. Let's dive in. For those who have no idea who El Chapo is, he's considered as one of the most powerful drug lords ever. He was the leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most powerful crime families in the world, and is only no longer the leader because he's now incarcerated. So, being who he is or was, he always had the authorities after him. He's been captured a number of times throughout the years, but more than that, he has escaped prison not once, but twice. Yes, the tunnel escape was not El Chapo's first successful prison break. I guess success is relative. He was first captured in 1993 in Guatemala and was sentenced to 20 years in a federal maximum security prison in Mexico for murder and drug trafficking. However, he didn't even spend up to half of his sentence before he was out again. And this was not because he was released on parole for good behavior. He actually managed to bribe some prison guards, allowing him to escape in a laundry cart in 2001. The reason this could happen was because while El Chapo was still in prison, his brother, often called El Pollo, continued to run the whole operation. So his crime family was able to send him suitcases of money in prison, some of which he used to bribe the right guards and some of which he used to make his stay more comfortable. The fact that he planned to leave soon did not mean that he was willing to live in squalor. Anyway, after that escape, the combined authorities of Mexico and the U.S. placed an $8.8 million bounty on his head. The drug lord did his best to be careful, hiding in remote areas of the Sierra Madre Mountains, but he could not hide forever, mainly because some members of his security who had been arrested decided to snitch. So on 22 February 2014, he was arrested at a hotel in a beachfront area in Mazatlan and sent to an even more secure prison. Considering that El Chapo had escaped prison before, one would expect that the authorities would take the extra step to make sure that a second prison break was not successful. And they did try. He was put under 23 hours of solitary confinement, with only 1 hour of outdoor exposure. In that time, he wasn't allowed to speak with anyone, fellow prisoners or prison guards alike. The only time he could speak with other humans was during his judicial hearings. Also, he did get one visit from his family every 9 days if the judge approved. So it was supposed to be impossible for El Chapo to interact with anyone long enough to bribe them, or even get the money to bribe anyone. But El Chapo knew that bribery was not the only escape route. The new route was a lot more elaborate than just bribing the right people. Outside of the prison walls, the interim leaders of the cartel had to acquire land near the prison to establish a control center for the operation, purchase an armored truck, and also smuggle a smartwatch into the prison to track El Chapo's progress. But the main piece of this escape plan was the mile-long tunnel that was dug. There isn't much information on exactly who dug the tunnel, but we do know that it was done by El Chapo's men. El Chapo was too high up in his crime family to debase himself by digging a tunnel. Add to the fact that El Chapo was under heavy restrictions and surveillance in prison, and you can understand how difficult, practically impossible even, it would have been for him to do much from the inside. All he had to do was sit and wait for things to unfold, and then get the okay that the scene was set. The construction of the tunnel was nothing short of remarkable. Starting from a small, nondescript house in the property that they had acquired, located in Almoloya del Rio, just a mile away, a team of skilled engineers and laborers worked tirelessly to create an underground passageway. With most of the tunnel getaways that have happened, the tunnels were dug by people inside the prison, so they were very rudimentary and contained just the basic features needed for safe passage. However, El Chapo's tunnel was a lot more elaborate. For one, it extended for over a mile, burrowing through the earth with precise calculations and plans to avoid detection. What's more, the passageway, which measured approximately 30 feet underground and 5.5 feet tall, featured sophisticated ventilation and lighting systems, allowing El Chapo to navigate through it comfortably. But that's not even the coolest thing about the tunnel. It was also fitted with a custom-made motorcycle track. El Chapo is apparently known for his affinity for motorcycles, so his guys decided to add it to the whole escape plan. It would make the escape faster and also mean that El Chapo would be riding out in style instead of just crawling through like a regular person. So roughly a year after El Chapo was incarcerated for the second time, the stage was set for him to make a second escape. This time, more daring than the last. The move happened on a weekend because there were fewer guards on duty. Later video footage would show that El Chapo ducked behind the wall that separated his sleeping area from the shower and never came out. The tunnel was behind that wall. Some have said that El Chapo rode the motorcycle out of the tunnel himself, and that's just because the vehicle was found in the tunnel. However, Lopez, who used to be Chapo's right-hand man, mentioned during his testimony that someone else drove the motorcycle as it was towed by a pulley system. So it seems like Chapo was a passenger on his ride out of prison. Outside the tunnel, an ATV was waiting to move Chapo to the building that had been acquired earlier. From there, Chapo was flown in a small plane by a trusted pilot to San Juan del Rio. From there, flown back to his hometown of La Tuna in the mountains of Sinaloa. All of these details were given by Lopez, by the way. However, Chapo would not remain free forever. The Mexican government was not happy about this development. It's one thing that a prisoner managed to escape a maximum security prison. It's another thing that they managed to do it a second time while under solitary confinement. So they launched a wide-range manhunt immediately after his absence was noted. They set up checkpoints and carried out air searches, but that immediate search yielded no result. Chapo was long gone before the search efforts even began. Interestingly, some people blame the Mexican government for his escape, especially the second one. Many people seem to believe that the fact that Chapo managed to escape a maximum security prison twice shows that there were high levels of corruption within the government. There were doubts about the government's ability to handle the country's organized crime group problem, and it's difficult to argue against those. Considering that the government was already feeling affronted, these aspirations must have spurred them to put in even more effort into recapturing Chapo. They even enlisted help from some retired Colombian generals, all in the bid to catch Chapo for good. So about 6 months after his successful tunnel escape, he was arrested for the third time, and regular citizens played an important role in the capture. In northern Sinaloa, the Mexican Navy got a report from concerned citizens that there were armed people in a house in Los Mochos. The house was placed under surveillance for a month before it was raided. However, Chapo had escaped with someone else through another tunnel. He then stole a vehicle at gunpoint to aid his escape. Immediately, they found out he had stolen a car and issued a statewide alert for the stolen vehicle. And this time around, they found him. Chapo tried bribing the officers. He offered them everything from cash to properties, even job offers. But the officers were not of the same breed as those prison guards. They refused all his offers and managed to successfully transfer Chapo into the custody of the Marines and then into the same prison he recently had escaped from. And they did this in spite of the tip-off that assassins had been sent to free Chapo. This time, Mexican authorities took extra precautions to prevent any chance of another escape. Really, what they did was speed up his extradition to the United States so that the ball was no longer in their court. Chapo's guys continued to try to get him out, even offering the presiding judge while he was jogging one day. The extradition was successful, though, and barely 2 weeks after his capture, he was handed over to the custody of the Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, of the United States. The legal proceedings dragged on a few years, and extra precaution had to be taken to protect the people involved, like keeping the jurors anonymous, because Chapo's men were angry. Thankfully, on July 17, 2019, Chapo was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. He was sent to ADX Florence in Arizona, which is supposed to be the most secure U.S. Supermax prison. It's been 4 years since he was sent there, and he's still there. At least for now. Thanks for watching. Like stories like these? Make sure to click the subscribe button before it disappears. See you in the next one.